Hello, everybody! Hello, and welcome to tonight's show, as it is called, tonight's game, tonight's session, tonight's craziness. Brian is here with us. Brian, how are you doing?
Very good, very good.
I'm glad to hear.
Enjoying the hot summer weather here in Hong Kong.
Yes, London is supposed to get hit by a 7-day heat wave where temperatures might reach 30 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, in South Africa, my friends are sitting there going 30 degrees Celsius in summer. It's nearly 30 degrees Celsius here in winter. Hong Kong's quite humid, isn't it? Is it?
It is very humid.
It is humid, yeah. So there we are. Anyway, all right, we are going to launch into our session tonight. The session is going to run for an hour and a half as we trial running slightly longer sessions and just to see how it goes and how everybody feels by that. So sit back, relax, and brace yourselves, because our heroes are in a very, very bad situation. If we sink down into those mountains, those dreaded mountains known as the Ptolemais mountain range in the tracts of Haidar, that expanse of featureless moorland aside from the Ptolemais mountains, that is, it is nightfall, and our intrepid hero has found Zil, the man that he has been seeking for quite some time. Zil and his companions have taken up residence in an ancient and very battered tower. Unfortunately, there are lots, and when I say lots, I mean lots of flying creatures called craglings that have surrounded the base of the temple and are threatening to break in and consume all of those within. That is where we find ourselves. Now, the only thing that I can't remember is, are you downstairs, Raj, or are you upstairs? Because I got a token for you on both.
I believe that we left off with me coming downstairs to see what's going on.
I think that's absolutely right. We are going to be... I've completely gone blank where we were going to be. I was looking at the portrait of Tatsu going, that's such a cool portrait. And while I was talking, forgive me. We are going into combat straight away, because that's what happens when you have lots of these little flying... It's difficult to tell what they look like, but they sort of a mottled greyish brown colour. They have patches of fur everywhere, and these massive teeth. Just this massive array of gnarled teeth. They sort of look like goblins, if goblins that were very ugly were beaten with the uglier stick until they were nearly dead. They're very, very ugly looking things. They have these large leathery wings that are tattered and torn, that once the creature lands sort of folds around its back, creating almost a shield of these intertwined pentadactyl-like fingers of the wings themselves. And then they lope forward with their mouths drooling, big black claws on the tips of their fingers. They don't seem to be armed with anything in particular, just this clawy, nasty mess, basically. And so that's where we find ourselves. You are in the ground floor of the tower. You have come running down, and we're going to go straight into initiative. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't say I am using my dice supplied to me by Easy Roller. Easy Roller Dice. They are the sponsor of all the role-playing games that I now do. They give out these amazing dice. So I will be using their dice tonight. So if that's what kills you, Brian, it's not my fault. It's Easy Roller's fault. All right. So if you please, give me an initiative.
All right. That will be 19.
19. Okay, fantastic. Okay, great. Easy Roller out the gate. We get a 1.
I like these dice.
You see, Easy Roller dice, just made for the GM. So, Brian, your total again was, please?
19.
19. Okay, you are acting first. You've come running down the stairs. These creatures are clawing at the door. They're pushing in through the gaps. You can see that Kinvar, this massive warhorse, every now and again he stomps his hoof towards one of them and they kind of chitter and back away a little bit. But they seem to be getting bolder and bolder. Zhu Jin is next to you, moving from the two holes in the side of this tower. His blade, this beautiful curved blade, it almost looks as if it's glowing with this very faint... what is the color? I'm trying to think. It's like a yellowish, pale yellow light as he's flicking it through, and the blade looks as if it could be made out of ivory if ivory had the same sheen as steel. It looks very, very sharp, whatever it is, and he's moving backwards and forwards and he's slicing those. You can see Tatsu's pushing against the door with one hand. He also holds another one of these faintly glowing moon blades, for lack of a better word, in his hand as well. And then Shento is doing the same. The noise from outside, it's like being in the center of this massive gannets. There's just this chittering all around you. What are you doing?
Okay. Raj is going to take his light crossbow and start shooting through the holes at these creatures.
Make your attack as you line up. There are plenty of gaps in this ancient tower. Not difficult.
Natural 20.
Ha ha! That's fantastic. I'm going to send you some easy roller dice.
So that will be 17 points of damage.
Roll a d6 for me.
2. You
fire your bolt. It sails straight through the chest of the first creature that's closest to you, punctures out of its lower spine, and impales itself into the companion directly behind it. You have killed 2 creatures with that magnificent shot. Unfortunately, no one sees it because they're all busy fighting off their own. But you have definitely done something that is not common. Now, the rest of your companions, Zhu Jin, you see him stabbing. Although you realise that his stab is more of a lunge forward and then a very delicate slice. At no point is he just sticking his blade into these things. He's doing these little delicate cuts, very small cuts. You get the impression he's almost writing rather than chopping or hacking as he moves through. You can see the armor that they were wearing, that very finely plated armor. It's actually quite flexible, so it allows him to move very, very, very quickly. Tatsu, the door is still holding. He's holding back the creatures that are trying to come through. From the other side of the chamber, you hear in your head Kinvar's voice. I think I rather like fighting these little things. I don't know what they're called, but they certainly die easily.
Good, I'm glad you're enjoying yourself, my friend.
Do you say that out loud, or is that internal voice?
That's internal.
All right. The creatures now start to try and rip at bits of masonry, try to get in, and really, really are desperate to make some kind of impact. I mean, it's a bit embarrassing what they're doing at the moment. So, the ones around you anyway, 3 of them, and I'll move them around so you can see them nice and clearly. So 3 of them have now started to crawl through. They're still inside the mat. They're still outside, even though as it stands, it looks like they're inside the tower with you. But they're busy crawling through that debris, pulling some of it aside, ripping out bits of wooden frame. Back to you.
Okay, let's shoot another bolt and try and block the passage up with dead bodies. That will be a dirty 20 to hit.
It's definitely a hit.
This time only 7 points of damage.
7 points of damage? Okay.
Yeah.
The creature looks up at you. It snarls. How does your bolt kill it?
It's probably crawling through mostly head first, so shot to the forehead.
Yes, the bolt simply cracks through its skull and pokes out the back of it. It drops limp in front of you, completely destroyed. There is no movement from its corpse. It's gone. Absolutely gone. Behind you, you can see again the warriors. They're still busy doing their thing. The sheer number of these little creatures, however, is causing Jujin to have to step back a little bit. You can see more of these things coming in. It looks as if they're starting to make some headway. There, from behind you, you hear Tatsu grunt a little bit, and this creature has pushed through the doorway, and more seem to be coming up or around it. This one is now fighting with Shinto quite badly. Kinvar is holding his absolute own. There is a yell and a shout, and landing next to you is Alexei. He has come running down the stairs from where he was. I don't know where Alexei went, actually. I don't know why he wasn't on the map to begin with. Anyway, he has come running down the stairs. He lands next to you. He has his mace in his hand, which he swings wildly. "I'll protect you, sir!" He swings it wildly. He connects with the side of the head of this little creature. It takes a huge amount of damage. It gets bashed against the wall and falls limp down onto the ground. "Huzzah!" he shouts in glee. As he does so. Back to you.
Okay. So the one closest has come in.
Yes.
Inside. Okay. All right. But I'm not in melee range yet, right?
No, not yet. It's still crumbling through. You could step forward though and be in melee range, and there is one to your left that's definitely in melee range.
Okay. If it's in melee range, then I will switch to the short sword, which for some reason I have not. Oh, I add that to my equipment and it's not showing it. Oh, that's why, because I didn't activate. Okay. No.
Yeah.
If it's in melee range, then yeah, I've got to switch to my short sword and stab at it.
Okay. Yeah. You are welcome to do so. More of them are landing. Their little wings are fluttering as they come towards you. Make your attack. So you're going to step forward.
That was only 7 to hit.
7 to hit. You swing at it, but it sort of leaps backwards at you. Its mouth snarling and growling. Doesn't seem to be enough to hit it. It then starts to maneuver. Its black eyes looking at you. From next to you, Jujin says to you, "Unfortunate. You should practice more." He then swings at his creature. He completely misses his creature as it leaps into the air and flies and lands next to him. "It appears I should practice more too." Behind you, Tatsu is falling back. He is being overwhelmed by these creatures. It's not that he's not killing them. There are definitely bodies lying all around him. It's just that there's so many of them. They keep pouring in. More and more and more and more of them. Kinvar from somewhere says, "There are too many of them. Where should we go?"
That is the problem. There is nowhere for us to go.
There is down or up.
If there is a way down, then let us try that.
Maybe I should go first, sir, just in case there's something down there.
Good idea, Alexei. Yes, good idea.
Alexei races off down the stairs, and maybe that's why he disappeared. He races off down the stairs to go and see what's happening there. The creatures, now there's one next to you, it strikes at you. Wow, it gets a natural one. It completely misses as it claws at you. There's obviously rubble in the way. You're dodging, it's not trying to be hit and that sort of thing. From behind you, you can hear, again, battle going on. And then all of a sudden, the creatures stop, turn, and you may get an attack of opportunity on one of them as it tries to fly away.
23 to hit.
Oh yeah, that's definitely you drive your short sword into it.
Oh wait a minute, short sword is only 6. 8 points of damage.
How does it die?
So this is a slice through the jugular.
Blood sprays everywhere as it drops to the ground. Its body rolls a few feet down the side. Jujin dispatches his very, very quickly, as does Tatsu. Why did they stop?
I do not know, except that I sent Alexei downstairs. Maybe something below has scared them, or I don't know. Alexei, can you hear me? What do you see down below?
You don't hear anything.
Oh.
Perhaps the boy, says Kinvar, chewing on one of these craglings, perhaps he cannot hear you.
Well, I had better go down and take a look to see if I can see him.
We should leave the tower now whilst we have an opportunity. If they are falling back, then perhaps it is a sign of their fear of our courage and power.
Unless the sun is coming out, I do not wish to take that chance outside. And I wish to check on my little friend Alexei. I will be as quick as possible. I do trust.
So you race down the stairs. The basement is quite dark down here. And the stairs open out to a very small platform, which then has some metal stairs going down it into the actual basement itself. And I will show you now where you come out. I'm just going to take you off of the grid because I need to. And this is what you see. A very dark space, and slowly your eyes are customized to it. And you can see Alexei is standing. He's standing about ankle deep in this greenish ooze. And he's looking at something in the middle of the lake. You can see there are these bubbles coming from that ooze. On the far end, however, you can see quite a large tunnel, which has a metal grate over it, but which quite possibly, and I'll illuminate for you, it could quite possibly mean an exit. But where it comes from, you don't know. Alexei looks at you. I think there's something in the slime.
Yes. Let's take a little I don't have a good cantrip to find a rock or pebble on the ground and throw it towards the bubbles and see what happens.
You're going to climb down to Alexei. I'll snap you to the grid now that you're in the room. Yeah, there's debris, there's old floating barrels and stuff. You throw the pebble into the middle of the slime and it slops in and sinks down. That sounded as if it's quite deep in the middle there.
All right, so if...
Roll a d6 for me. Just a random d6.
That would be a 6.
Ah! Okay. As you're looking at it, this hand, it's a giant skeletal hand, reaches out of the slime and tries to grab you. It hits an armor class of 13, which I believe is enough to grab you.
Nope.
Here. Not enough.
My 14 is...
Fantastic. It scrapes across your chest. It sort of pulls at your clothing, but you manage to twist yourself free, and the hand kind of slimes back again. The hand was about... each finger was about a foot in length. So it's quite a big hand that reached out and tried to grab you. Alexei shouts, "It's an undead! What are you doing?"
Let's go back up and see if our priest friend has anything good for undead.
Oh,
Zill, yes.
I know the incantations to banish the undead.
You have priest training.
I am trying to be a paladin.
Okay. Give it a try.
He
be my guest.
Reaches into his grubby tunic and pulls out, it's difficult to see what it is, he clutches onto it and he starts to pray. As he's doing so, you see the hands reaching out of whatever the center of the pool is and start to pull this thing upwards. It looks as if it was an ancient, maybe a giant that's been buried underneath this tower. As the skull starts to emerge from the slime, it very sluggishly seems to be looking towards you. You hear Alexei, I just need a few moments. Can you keep it busy?
I can try, yes.
All right, what are you going to do to try and keep this Felkocan busy?
Drop a sacred flame on it.
All right. Make your attack.
That's a
it's a dex save, that's right.
Dex saving throw of 13 for...
Okie dokes, he fails completely.
Okay, so that does D8 damage. That's 7 points of flame damage.
7 points of flame damage.
Radiant damage.
Radiant damage, okay. Your flame sizzles and burns, and the green sort of liquid around is illuminated with this orange glow very, very, very briefly. The creature, flames now dripping from its bone skull, it doesn't seem to be too fazed by that necessarily, but it definitely is now focused on you and not on young Alexei. It swipes at you again with one of its steel or bone claws. Doesn't help. It gets a 13 again. So it scrabbles at you. It can't use both hands. One hand has to hold it in place, whilst the other one sort of slaps at you and grabs at you. Alexei, you can hear, is starting to incant something. It sounds like a prayer of some kind. He seems to be getting stronger and more convinced in what he's saying. Back to you.
Okay, another sacred flame.
The creature sees this one coming and takes it. It hits it. It sees it coming. It just doesn't do anything about it.
All right, only 2 points of damage this time.
All right, barely even registering it. It swipes at you. This time it gets, thanks easy roller dice, it gets less. What's it? 8. So it's a complete miss. Alexei, as he's finishing up doing his prayer, oh dear, you suddenly hear that voice of his start to quaver as you think he's entering into unknown or forgotten territory. There's a paragraph, like in the song, you get to the chorus and you're like, I know the chorus very well. And then you get to the second stanza and you're like, hum, and three blind mice. That's kind of where he seems to be stuck. Next round to you.
All right. Again with the sacred flame. That's the best thing.
Okay.
Against undead.
This time it moves sideways just as your flame hits, and your flame sizzles and sputters out into the ooze. It got an 18 on its dex.
Okay.
It swipes at you. This time it seems to be irritated that it can't get. Yeah, it swipes, cannot grab you. You're just too agile. Or how are you getting away from this creature? Describe to me how you're avoiding this giant hand as it's clawing at you.
So, keeping to the edges, which seem to be not so deep in the muck, I'm just kind of moving back and forth to keep it distracted while Alexei does his thing. So in the 2 or 3 squares there to the right of where Raj is now.
Yeah.
Just kind of moving around there to dodge
Gotcha.
this guy's attacks. And
Alexei, this time he gets it. You hear him recite the final prayer, which is, when the 8 are combined, balance is brought into being, and you are not balance, he says, and he holds out what looks to be this flower of interconnected circles. And the creature looks at him. I'm going to ask you to roll, please, for Alexei. Roll a d20 and just give me that number.
4.
Well, he holds it directly at the creature. You can see his stance is a power stance. The creature looks at him, and for a moment, no one moves. And then you see the creature lifting up its hand, ready to strike at Alexei, he's unshaken in his faith. He is not moving whatsoever. What are you doing?
All right. Keep dropping a sacred flame on this to keep it busy.
All right.
Another dex.
Oh, yes. 17 plus 1, so that's an 18, unfortunately. It avoids. Its hand comes screaming down. This time it's at Alexei, because your flames are no longer its concern, and he's holding up something that it recognizes. It swipes. He's not moving. He hits. Okay. He hits. His hand rakes across Alexei's shoulder. His hand remains firm. He cries out, but he doesn't drop his position. He doesn't drop the symbol. He repeats the phrase, when the 8 are 1, balance is restored, and you are not in balance. Roll a d20 for me.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
17.
17. The creature glares at Alexei, and then it starts to try and pull itself even further forward. But suddenly, the front of its head starts to dissolve into ash and into dust. And Alexei, holding that symbol, he wades a little bit further deeper into the pool. He's now at his knees. He's repeating this phrase, repeating this phrase, repeating this phrase. It looks like he's done quite a lot of damage to this beast. He shouts in between, just a few more and we got this. Just a few more.
Okay. How badly was he wounded?
It was when you look at him, you can see the tunic has been ripped open, and you can see that there is definitely blood pouring from an open wound. It looks quite bad.
Okay, I'm gonna cast a cure wounds on Alexei.
Absolutely.
That'll give him back 6 hit points.
You watch as your magic washes over him, and once again those wounds seal up. Just the actual blood itself now remains, but you can see the exposed bright pink flesh is no longer there. And you can see his whole posture kind of suddenly stand a little bit more confident now that that pain has been removed. The creature swipes at him again. Unfortunately, it's going before he is. A natural it's ones and ones, so that's another one. It slams its fist down in the slime around him, almost more in anger and frustration at being stopped. It's been waiting so long for something to come down here, and now it has. It's causing it all this trouble and trauma. Roll that d20 for me, please, for Alexei as he continues his chanting.
Only a 2 this time.
Yeah. Nothing happens. No more of that bone seems to dissolve away. He's like, it should be working. I don't understand why it's not working. Just once more, please, Raj.
All right. Let me try something stronger. I will use a witch bolt.
All right.
There's an attack roll on my end. That is an 11.
Definitely hits. It's a giant creature. It can't dodge.
Okay. That's 8 points of damage.
8 points of damage. That's fantastic. Your bolt slams into the creature. Bits of bone rip and flake off as it starts to almost bore into its being. Are you going to keep Witchblade up?
Yeah.
Witchbolt up. You're going to keep it active. All right.
Keep the concentration up.
Okay. It's going to swipe at you now. It's not going to swipe at Lexi. And it does have the range. It's got that reach. That long arm just reaches out towards you, following the line of the Witch Bolt. It gets an armor class of 23, as a matter of fact. So that's definitely a hit. You're lucky. You take 5 points of damage.
Okay.
As it finally claws into you. Now, I do need you to give me, please, a dexterity saving throw as it's trying to grab you and just crush you.
21.
Oh, again, you slip out of it. You've got moves that just defy gravity almost. Well, as a matter of fact, you can climb walls, so they probably do. And you just sort of slip out of the slime-covered hands. Roll that d20 for me as Alexei continues his chant. You can see sweat is pouring down his brow.
15.
That's higher than my roll. The creature sort of is looking intently at you. You've got your beam just burning into it. Alexei finishes his chant once again. You are not in balance. And the whole thing just explodes. Bits of bone shatter around you. The slime just is peppered and stabbed with thousands of little fragments of this creature. Waves slop around. Alexei drops to his knees, breathing heavily. I think we did it.
All right. This may be a safer way for us to go out, but we must tell the others and see if we can bring Kinvar down here. That will be difficult. Before we bring him down here, let's take a look and scout ahead just a little bit.
Okay. Alexei drags himself to his feet and very carefully walks around the edge of the pool. He taps the grate with his mace and he looks back at you, the smile spread across his face. Oh, I don't think they've used this in years. And he bashes the grate with his mace and the whole thing falls clankingly into the sludge pool. I can feel a bit of a breeze. I think it goes to the surface. Should I go ahead?
Let us go together.
Good thinking. All right, you join him. you realize that it is particularly dark in this tunnel, and after a few moments, the light that was spilling down the stairwell from above is no longer able to illuminate, and you're hearing the stumblings of Alexei behind you. The tunnel does indeed seem to continue quite some distance directly ahead, but aside from a few cobwebs and some wet floors, it seems devoid of life altogether.
Okay. Can we tell how much further this goes?
Give me a survival check.
$16.
The wind current, you would guess that it's no more than 4, maybe 500 yards distant, which would put you quite a ways away from the tower and possibly even out of the sight of those craglings.
Okay, let's go back and get the others and see if we can together go out through this passage safely.
That's a good plan. As you're walking back, he looks at the various bits of planking and the barrels. I think we could probably use the planks as like a ramp. Then Kinvar can just walk down the ramp, right?
Ah, okay, very good. Very good idea. Yes.
I'll start building that if you go get the others.
Okay. Yes.
All right. You head back upstairs, and the others are looking guardedly out of the various holes. Zil has come down from the floor above. Bad news, I'm afraid, Raj. And
yes.
He points out of one of the larger holes. There's a moon out, very, 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 very slowly starting to rise, because if you remember, it was very dark when you arrived, but now the moon is just starting to rise over the furthest peak, and you can see this very large form, massive wings spread out like a bat, slowly gliding forward. Tatsu turns to you. We did not understand why the Craglings withdrew until we saw that. I believe it is the brood mother coming to finish us off. The Craglings might be insignificant warriors, but the brood mother will be a significant challenge for all of us. If you were to take Zil on your horse, you might be able to outride it if we stay here and act as a diversion. Our sacrifice will be honorable.
Well then, there is another option. I have found a passage below that could take us quite far away, where I do not think we would be followed.
Well, that sounds excellent. But how are we going to get your horse down there?
Alexei is working on building a ramp right now to take us down below. So if we act quickly, we can all move down below, including Kinvar, and move through this passage that we have found.
This is excellent. We will all escape our fate this day. You are very smart for someone of your class. You are sure you are born into the merchant family?
Yes, I am sure. But in my culture, the merchant is a little bit different.
We are taught that once your bloodline has been set, you are forever destined to be in that space. Perhaps your term for merchant is different from ours.
Perhaps.
Having resolved his crises of caste, you all manage to make your way down the steps. Kinvar is very cautious. Stairs, they're not good for my knees, you know. His hooves are almost as big as each step, so he's sort of stepping very delicately down these stairs. You hear, as you're going down, that massive creature is obviously landing because there's this big thud. And then all of the craglings start to, it's almost, is it whistle? There's this high-pitched coming from thousands of these little voices as this monstrosity starts to move towards the tower. As you get to the bottom, you can very clearly see that Alexei has indeed built a ramp. And Kinvar starts to step down it. And the ramp holds under his weight. The boards and barrels that Alexei's put together seem to take his weight. They sag a little bit. But he gets down very, very, very smoothly and quickly. Not too much of a problem. The rest join you immediately, and you start along the tunnel?
Yes.
Okay. Your journey along the tunnel takes you about 10 minutes or so to get to the far end, and it is indeed nearly 500 yards from where you started. The far end is unfortunately collapsed. There are a few shafts of very faint moonlight coming in from where the entrance would be, but you can see boulders have sort of fallen in and it's become quite overgrown. This will take us some time, but it is much better to escape this route than fight that creature.
Yes, I think the time will be good for us, but perhaps we may even take a short rest and wait for sunlight before we go out.
Well, that's assuming the creatures don't come down the stairs. I don't know how smart they are, but if they find the tunnel, then we're trapped in the tunnel with a dead end.
Well, okay, yes. Let's work on the exit first. You have a good point. Work on getting out first.
You can rest, Master. I'll do the stones. It's not a problem.
Okay. I will watch on guard while you work. Then I am not too suited to heavy labor. Yeah.
I wouldn't allow it, sir, says Alexei as he moves forward. Kinvar looks at you, looks at the stones. I'm also a very delicate creature. I don't think I should be moving stones.
No, my friend. I would not expect you to.
He stands next to you and sort of his head is very low because he can't stand upright completely in this passageway. The rest of them get to starting to shift the stones. Takes them a few hours, but just as the first rays of dawn start to hint at arriving, there is a big enough space that all of you can exit. The 3 Tadesu elves all evacuate first, make sure the area is clear, and then pull you out. There is not a sign of craglings in this part of the mountain range that you're in. You're in the low foothills, you're not in the actual mountain range itself. There is a cool breeze that is blowing in from the coastlands, and having taken the twists and turns of the tunnel, you're not entirely sure where exactly everything is in relation. The elves are looking around, Zil is looking around, everyone is effectively looking around. Give me a survival check, if you please.
7.
You are unsure where everything is. As you are, you're in the Ptolemus Mountains somewhere, so that's in the middle of the map. But where exactly is unclear. There are a few false starts as various divination techniques are used. The elves look at the trees to see on which side of the tree the moss is growing, and they are unfortunately rewarded with none. But eventually, Zil says, I think we should just head in a direction. What does everyone else think? Because we're never going to find our way out of here.
Well, yes, it is morning. Can we see which direction the sun is coming from?
Yes, very much so.
All right. Then I believe that we wish to go to the west, correct?
Yes, Pythios was our intended destination.
All right, then let's go opposite the direction of the rising sun and see if that gets us in where we wish to be.
Okay. You start to make your way with the sun at your back towards where you hope Pythios happens to be. The hills, after a while, start to give way to open land. The trees get less and less. There is no swamp or moor, as in where the tracts of Haidar were. It's just open plain. And after a few more hours of walking, you come across a road that seems to be running to the north. Well, at least we found somewhere. The question is, do we go north or south?
Let us take a short rest here and see if any other travelers come by that we may ask for directions.
The Tedessu elves immediately set about making a small camp. You can see that Shinto starts to build a little fire using various bits of, it looks like wool. Jujin pulls out that very delicate teapot that you saw before at the top of the tower. They set up a very small little camp, as it were. The first hour goes by. They offer you some of the beverage that they are brewing in this teapot. Do you accept it?
Yes.
It is remarkably refreshing. It has a slightly minty flavour to it. It's quite nice, the warmth of it, although the sun is now definitely in mid-sky. It's about lunchtime now. It's still warming and brings a bit of a peaceful calm, if you like. For the first hour, after you've really set up camp, nothing has happened. You do get the benefits of having a short rest, however.
Okay. So I use one hit dice to recover some hit points. So that brings me back up to maximum.
Okay. Towards the middle of the second hour, there is a fairly well-built cart that is moving at quite a pace. It's being pulled by two very large horses, draft horses by the looks of things. And when I say well-built cart, its wheels are solid with, it looks like, brass bindings. The sides of the cart are absolutely solid. There's no windows in it whatsoever. There's a driver seated at top, controlling the two horses, and next to him is, it looks like a crossbowman, also seated next to him. But they both sat inside what looks to be almost like a turret with crenellations on it, providing them with quite a lot of protection. I think that's a prison transport. Do you think we should stop them?
Let's see if we can get their attention without causing alarm. I will travel by myself, unarmed.
Oh, wise choice. The rest of us will wait just off of the road. Come on. Everyone breaks camp and moves off across the road. You going to stand in the road?
Yeah, just next to it. I don't want to block their path just in case they're worried about someone trying to stop them.
Absolutely. Okay, as they get close, are you going to do anything or try and signal?
Wave my arm, try and get their attention, see if they will stop.
So you wave at them, and as the wagon screams past you at maximum speed, no stopping whatsoever, you can see the crossbowmen in the turret waving at you as they disappear down the road and off into the distance. Dust is all that greets you.
Okay, well, if that is an armed transport, then they are probably headed towards civilization.
That would make sense. You would
So
take a
we will,
prisoner to be executed in a place of importance.
yes. So let's continue in that direction. See
Well,
where we end up.
I certainly can't fault you. Kinvar says,
I am glad that we're following that carriage. Did you notice who was pulling it?
I noticed two large horses. Yes.
Two very beautiful, very strong, very female horses pulling that cart.
Hmm. Ah, yes. Then we should definitely follow them.
I don't suppose we could run and leave everyone else to walk and arrive later.
Uh, yes, I think that could be. Let me just tell them first.
all right. Everyone looks at you.
All right, Kinvar and I will go ahead to scout the road ahead. You continue in this direction, and we will be back to check on you as soon as possible.
You think you need to scout the road ahead?
Well, yes, Kinvar and I can travel much further. Lexi, please stay with Zil and look after him, and we will be back.
Well, as you say. Yes, I suppose that makes sense. You can travel much faster on the horse. As you mount up onto Kinvar, he immediately breaks into full gallop after the prison cart. And you also get the idea that for him it's definitely nice to be able to just open up and go at full speed. He hasn't done that for a while, and you are covering the distance in no time. Eventually, you actually quite quickly start to catch up with that wagon. Are you going to get right up close to it, or are you going to keep your distance?
Tell Kinvar, let's not get too close. We do not want to alarm them. We wish to see where they are going and perhaps what stable they are staying in, but I do not wish their crossbowmen to turn around and try to shoot at us.
Fair point. Yes. Later I will woo them in that stable. Yes.
He slows down a little bit. It is another 2 hours of riding before eventually, in the distance, you see the coast once again of the great Casafero Gulf. And it's amazingly blue water. Some say it's so clear you can see the bottom even on a dark day. And it does indeed look as if someone has just laid a sheet of glass over a deep gorge that makes up the Gulf. However, more importantly, you can see rising out of a fairly large collection of forests the towers that must be the city of Pythios. It is massive. It's also beautiful. Great white walls with these deep orange roofs just stand out like a blinding jewel in the afternoon sun. And then the blue blazoned flags littering everywhere punctuate this sense of extreme activity, but at the same time extreme beauty. And the wagon you can see is making its way down into one of the lower, into the only gate. But you realize that unless you get a lot closer, you're going to lose it in the city. The city is easily, say, 40,000 people.
Okay, now that we are closer to the city, we can catch up with them.
Again, Those muscles start to ripple as Kinvar moves forward. You get to the main gate, and there are guards standing, resplendent in silver breastplates with silver Corinthian helms, similar to your own, with these blue crests, bright blue crests. They don't stop you as you're riding through. It is, however, you realize the carriage is making its way in amongst the throng. There are lots of people moving around on these streets, so getting close to it is going to be a little bit of a challenge. And to that end, I would like you to give me a perception check, please. 12 on perception. Starting to get closer as best you can. You how close do you want to get to them?
If we're in the city and there's enough of other traffic, we can get within 15 to 20 feet behind them, or
sure,
even maybe a little bit closer.
Okay, absolutely. You get close enough now where you realize the back of the carriage, there is a very small, it would be a window, but it's obviously got something that slides over it. That door, for lack of a better word, is slid shut. But you're noticing that it looks like there's a very fine piece of metal slowly trying to work that back panel open. You can see it sliding out, almost like someone slid a shank of metal through and is trying to push that flap open.
Okay. Kinvar, I think I have a plan to get in a little bit closer with your beautiful lady friends. Let us get closer to the driver and tell them that they may have a prisoner escape on their hands. So we move up to the front and wave to the crossbowman again, and then point to the back of his card and say, "You should check the back panel. I think something is going on back there."
Kinvar is exceptionally motivated to get you close up because he got a natural 20 to push his way through the crowds and get there. You shout that to the guard. The guard looks at you. He's like, "What?
The back window, I see a piece of metal. Someone is trying to escape. You should check it very quickly."
Oh no. All right. He looks at the driver. Coke, stop. He's trying to get out again. The man named Coke looks at him. He looks at you. "How do you know he's not the one trying to get him out and it's just about getting us to stop?" Oh yeah, that's a good idea. How do we know you're not trying to help him break out?
I assure you, I do not know what your cargo is, who you are carrying. I just noticed what fine horses you have, and I was admiring your horses and noticed this shiny thing, so I thought I should tell you about it.
Before he can respond, there's a shriek from the crowd, and suddenly everyone who is around you just opens out in this wide circle. And standing in front of the wagon, which has been slowing down because Coke is an idiot, the wagon has been slowing down. Standing directly in front of all of you is this figure dressed entirely in black with this heavy crossbow in hand. And he shouts out, "And besides, it's not the cat who's trying to save your prisoner. It's me. Hand him over and no one dies."
See, I told you it was not me.
"I'll apologize if we survive."
All right.
Give me a perception check.
To you.
Good luck to you.
15.
You notice that this figure who's standing in the front, there are 4 others sidling out from the crowd, also dressed quite heavily in black. 2 of them are brandishing long swords, and the other 2 appear to have hatchets or axes in hand. 2 of them are making their way towards the back of the wagon, and 2 of them are making their way towards you. One looks at you and says, "Go away."
And mentally to Kinvar, I say, I am sorry, my friend. I think this is not a good time for us to be chasing your lady friends. This is a business that we are not prepared to handle. We are outnumbered.
Give me a persuasion check.
16.
As long as you tell them it wasn't me abandoning them, I'm fine with that.
I can definitely do that.
All right. He starts to back away. "Very smart," says the ruffian who was looking at you. The ruffian then looks at the 2 guards. "All right, boys. Climb down, walk away, no one dies."
Okay. Are there any other city guards around that I can see?
Looking around, way back at the gate, which is about 100 or so yards away, you can see the blue plumes of the guards trying to push their way through the crowds. But the whole of this market street has basically just become one gigantic blockage of people, because those that have formed a circle around the wagon have cut off the entire street flow. So it's just a backlog of people. So they're trying to push through, but it doesn't look like they're going to get here for at least a few seconds.
Okay. Being the good guy that Haraj is, he's not going to just run away completely. This. Okay, I think the spell that could help out here is Unseen Servant.
Okay.
And so a little bit of on the edge of the crowd, Raj cast this spell. So it creates this unseen servant that is going to, even though it doesn't have much strength and only 1 hit point, but well, it should cause at least a distraction to see. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So send the servant after the back of the wagon, and if any of them try to open it up, just have the servant just slap at their hands just to distract them and confuse them.
Okay. The two guards, the one with the crossbow, he looks at his companion known as Coke. "Oh, it's nice serving with you, brother." The man in the front shouts at them, "Don't be heroes. You will die, and for what? Your month's salary? I don't think so." And one of the ones with the axes goes round to the back, and he reaches for the door, and your unseen servant slaps at his hands. Captain, I think, I don't know what the hell's going on back here, but something's touching me. And I'm not sure I'm very comfortable with that." The one right at the front looks at the 2 guards. "Whatever it is, stop it right now or I will kill you." And he levels the crossbow directly at one of the guards. "We're not doing anything, I swear. Wait, what? We're not touching no one.
Okay. Send the servant over to slap at the crossbow.
Okay. The servant goes rushing around to slap at the crossbow, and the guy at the back is still kind of holding back. One of them says, "The guards are coming! We've got to get out of here! It's bungled!" The one at the front goes, "I'm sorry!" And as he's about to pull the trigger, the crossbow bounces. What is going on? He says, and he sort of takes a step back and again tries to point the crossbow, and the tip just bounces as he feels this force. He looks at his companions. The blue crests are pushing their way through the crowds. They're getting closer and closer and closer. His companions shake their heads. He curses, and then they burst into the crowds, causing little ripples of screams as these goons sort of disappear through and rush off and that sort of thing. The guards slump down and... What the hell was that? Do you think they were mad? Says Coke.
Hello, my good men.
You again.
I'm glad that that the other guards have arrived in time. I'm glad that my distraction bought you some time.
You mean you were the one making that crossbow? Oh, you're a wizard.
I have a little bit of magical skill. It is all. Just some parlor tricks is all. May I ask, where do you keep your horses, in which stable tonight? That's all I want to know.
They're going to be in the jail stables. Like, you really like our horses?
Not myself, but my own steed here finds them very, very interesting. Yes.
All right. Well, I don't know what you're planning on doing, Baxi, but look, we're much obliged to you. Only I hope they don't realise that you were doing that, because then you should watch your back. That's a nasty bloke, that one.
What is he called?
What's he called? Oh, they call him Deathbringer. Although that's a bit of a misnomer, thankfully for today. Anyway. Oh.
Interesting. All right, yes.
His name's Culkin, I think. Culkin Deathbringer.
Okay. Yes. All that I ask is that you allow my horse to stable with yours for one night.
I guess. Free stabling in exchange for helping us. I'll have to pass it up with the captain, but if you come round to the jail stables in about an hour or so, once we've offloaded our cargo, then I'm sure it'll be all right.
All right, you have it. That sounds fair enough. Thank you.
The city guards finally push their way through and look at you. Coke explains the situation. Oh, he did some magic and he made them run off. It was that Deathbringer bloke once again. The captain of the guard looks at you. Well, we're obviously very grateful for your services, citizen. Are you expecting a reward of some kind?
I was glad to help. I only wish my horse and I have made a long journey, and I would like to reward him for his hard work with a good night's rest in a nice stable. So I was hoping that he could stay in the same stable with these two fine horses pulling this cart. That is all I ask.
I don't see any problem with that. He pulls out a little note from a pouch at his belt, scribbles something on it, hands it to you. Show that to them at the jailhouse. They'll let you through for the night. One night, mind you. And again, thank you for assisting in keeping Pythios safe. And you say that was Deathbringer again, do you? Blast. He's been getting more bold recently. Anyway. Right. Thank you, citizen. You carry on back. Get him to the prison. Everyone break it up. Nothing more to see here. Go about your cells. Do your thing. Do whatever it is you're doing, he says as he sort of drifts back into the crowd, breaking the crowds up. The wagoneers look at you, give you a nod, and then the carriage moves forward.
Okay. About what time is it?
Oh, now it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay. All right, my friend. I have made good arrangements for you this evening. Let us just go back and check on our friends on the road. Let them know they are coming in the right direction, and then we will give you the night off.
Don't think that I didn't notice the trouble that you went through. I am deeply grateful to you. It is not often that I have had individuals care so much about my personal evenings.
Well, that is what friends are for, no?
In which case, I wish I had more friends.
You ride back out of the city, and it's still quite a distance to catch up with the others, but eventually you do. It's dusk once you catch up with them. They're obviously elated that the city is nearby. Do you tell them anything of your antics?
No, I just tell them that I'm going to put Kinvar in a nice stable for the night and find accommodations for us. I'll meet them back at the city gate when they arrive.
Okay. It's not difficult whatsoever. You head back to town. The jail is quite easy to find. I've got a map here of Pythios for you. It is a big city, very big city on the Gulf, and you're coming in through these this road here through number 9. Basically, this area here, as you're moving through it, you realize now that you actually have a moment to look around. The houses outside of the massive city walls are very poor quality. They're not coated in white. They're coated in brown mud, and it looks more like a refugee space than anything else. You can certainly see there are lots of individuals, especially now that it's dusk, cooking fires out in the open. You realize that the structures here, not a single one of them is above a story in height. Very poor area to move through, basically. The gate has now been closed, but upon your arrival, one of the guards steps forward. "Oh, well, if it isn't the denier of Deathbringer." "Yeah, all right, look, admittedly, we're still working on the title. Well, we're glad to have you back. In you go." And they push open the massive brass-bound wooden gate and allow you entrance back into the city. It takes you a good amount of time to find the jail. You ask a few people that are out and about. The markets are still going, and the night market certainly seems to be getting ready for the new group of individuals that be waking up and ready to shop. But eventually you do find it, more towards the large citadel that looms very strong over the entire city and the bay. The note is given to the jailer, who... "It only says that there's accommodation for your horse, not for you. Are you going to be all right?"
Yes, I shall find accommodations elsewhere. I also have some friends who will arrive soon, so there are about 6 of us in total.
All right. Well, if you've got the coin, make sure that you stay away from the port area. Try not to go anywhere near Thenastown. Definitely don't go to Piken Refuge. That's outside the gates. You might have noticed it coming in. You don't want to go there. If you can find lodgings, aim for Yulgard, or perhaps, even if you've got enough coin, for Senate Hill," he says, pointing to an area of the town that rises up out of the masses. You can see there's larger villas and things. There are a couple of nice taverns and inns in Senate Hill. It's just a bit pricey, obviously, than lower down. Aye. Well, good luck to you, and he'll be well fed and watered, and he'll be brushed down by the stable lads. There's no chance that he won't have that happen. Don't you worry. He'll be in luxury tonight.
Thank you very much, my good sir. We shall see you tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Mental note to Kimbar, enjoy yourself, my friend.
As he's following the jailer towards the stables, he turns and it looks as if he's bowing to you, because he drops one hoof under the other and sort of lowers his head. Then he turns back, and as he's about to enter into the stables, you see everything perks up. His ears perk up. He kind of brushes out of his mane, and then he starts tropping in to the actual stables itself, leaving you quite alone in this mega city known as Pythios. Where are you heading?
All right. I do need to head back to the gate to see if the others have arrived.
They absolutely have. As you get back to the gate, it does take you quite some time to make your way from the stables all the way back down to the gate. So yes, you arrive just as they're arriving. They're tired. They've been working quite quickly, but walking quite quickly, I should say. But they are in good spirits. Well, now I suppose we need to find somewhere to spend the night. I've only been here once before. I can't remember where. Maybe we should try down near the docks, or aren't there usually lots of taverns?
I have heard that the docks are not a good place to stay. We may not go up to the hill until we have found a way to earn some more coin, but there was the other. They told me another place, Yulgard or something like that.
Oh, Yulgard. Yes, I know Yulgard. That's to the north of the city. Well, I don't know it exactly. I mean, I've heard of it before. The road from Yulgard Gate leads to the little village of Yule. So that makes sense. You make your way out to Yulgard Gate area, which is actually quite a large area. It causes you to go past the town square, where there's this large, majestic statue of some warrior who saved the city thousands of years ago, or hundreds of years ago, from a giant serpent. And then you cross a bridge that encircles this very strange six-sided lake that has been laid out in the middle of the town. That's this large shaped lake here. It's very picturesque. There's little lanterns glowing all around it. There's sellers trying to sell everything from sweet meats to flowers. You can see couples are wandering around it. It's very, very, very cosmopolitan. And eventually you end up within Yulgard Gate, looking for any particular type of tavern, or just the first one that you come across?
First one that we come across.
Okay, the first one that you come across is known as the Farmer's Inn. When you use random generators, that's what you get. It's known as the Farmer's Inn.
All right. Let's see if we can find accommodations for the six of us.
Without any difficulty whatsoever, you walk into the Farmer's Inn. The barkeep, a rather short dwarf who's standing on, it's obviously a raised platform. He looks you up and down. "Ah, hi! It's the hero of Market Street! Welcome in! Come in, we're honoured to have you staying here. Anyone who stops the Deathbringer's a friend of ours. Provided that you stop him robbing us, of course, if he were to dare come this way."
Well, thank you. I did not realize that I had done so much.
Are you kidding me? Do you know who it was that they were trying to break out of that little transport?
No, I do not.
Oh. Sir Rothmund the Black.
Sir Rothman the Black.
Oh, aye. He's set to be executed on the morning. He'd been kept out 1,000,000 miles away from the city so that no one might rescue him before his execution.
And what did this man do that he is to be executed for?
What did he do?
Hmm.
You didn't hear? Aye, well, you can. There's, what do they call it? It's one of those temple thingies. The Temple of Life. The Temple of Life in, what was that town's name now? I can't, damn it, can't bring it. Can't think of it for the life of me. Nonetheless, one of those important towns. Gipthos, I think it was. He vandalised the entire temple to the Temple of Life. Completely destroyed the temple and everything. It was an absolute shambles. He stole one of their priceless artifacts, some vessel of some kind. What do they call it? The Stone of Souls or some such. Nonetheless, he got away with it, or so he thought. Well, then he got captured, which was good, because obviously you burned down the temple, you deserve to be captured, and he didn't even deny that he'd tried to take it. He just took it, and unfortunately he didn't have it on him when he was arrested, but that doesn't matter. He's going to hang tomorrow. Definitely. They say it's going to draw the biggest crowd out there. Didn't bring in as many people as we were hoping, of course, but, well, they didn't exactly announce when they were going to kill him, so, but there you are.
Oh, very interesting. Thank you for that information. So tell me, my good dwarf, would you have accommodations for the 6 of us?
It's not even a thought, laddie. You've got accommodation free for tonight at the very least. After tomorrow, then, we'll have to talk about lodging fees and such like. Are you going to be staying for long?
I will let you know on the morrow. We need to discuss amongst ourselves first.
Aye, no problem whatsoever. No problem whatsoever. A room each, or will you be sharing?
2 rooms, 3 and 3.
Right, very good. Well, you go about your accommodationing, and they actually bring up supper, courtesy once again of the barkeep. The barkeep himself, he introduces himself. He looks you square in the eye. Name's Cobard. If you need anything, you just ask for Cobard, eh?
All right, thank you very much, Cobard. So, Zero, now that we are in a safe place, please tell me, what is our next step?
Well, from Pythios, I had hoped to book passage aboard a transport to go directly to Delphi. We're not exactly on the right side of the continent, so I was going to take Griffin. They're reliable and quite quick. They're very expensive, of course, and, well, I hope I have enough with me. I hadn't planned on having many others. Tatsu and his 3 are going to be leaving us in the morning. That is correct. We have no wish to journey to Delphi. We will return to our own lands. We have claimed our prize. It's at that point that Shinto says something to him in Elvish, and because you speak Elvish, you understand, and Shinto says, "But we do not have the ticket. If we return, we will be simply telling them empty, empty, empty adventures. Without proof, nothing has occurred.
Tatsu says,
I was not the one tasked with keeping the evidence. You will be silent.
Immediately Shento drops down. Shento, sorry, sort of cowers down.
I apologize for the interruption. We will be leaving in the morning.
And I speak back to them in Elvish. What is this ticket that you are looking for? Is it this piece here that I found when I was trying to catch up with you a few days ago before we met for the first time? I pull out the bone token that I found before.
That's right, with the number 44 engraved upon it. Their eyes light up, and all three of them immediately bow directly in front of you and remain bowed. Tatsu says,
that is indeed the item that we are seeking. It is most fortuitous that you found it. We beg of you, would you restore it to us?
Definitely, it is of no use to me. Please. It has been my pleasure to make your acquaintance. Please take this, that we may meet again one day in the future.
He takes it and immediately secretes it about his armor.
You are unlike any merchant I have ever seen. You do not ask for coin in exchange for items. You are willing to assist others and yourself. I am surprised.
Yes, my father taught me many different ways of being merchants, yes.
It would seem your father is either a visionary or he is a rebel to his caste. Either way, you should be careful, Baxi. It is sometimes dangerous to enter into new territories. Huh?
Yes. I am a bit concerned about the reputation I have made for myself. They have a saying where I come from that the man is afraid of being famous just like the pig is afraid of becoming fat.
There is a smile that breaks across his face.
I like you. I do like you. If you find yourself in the Tadesu kingdoms, ask for me.
And he hands you a very small rosette. It's made out of leather, by the looks of things, a little flower, quite beautifully made, quite intricately made. And it looks as if the way that the binding has been folded around itself actually creates a symbol of some kind.
You show this to any peasant, they will immediately bring you to me. Now that we have the ticket, I feel my companions and I should make haste and depart immediately. We have a long journey ahead of us, and so do you, it would seem. We have been honored to travel with you.
Yes, it has been my pleasure as well.
They all bow. Once again, they say their goodbyes to Zil, and it looks like Jujin stops and has a few quiet words with Alexei, and then he hands Alexei something, which leaves Alexei startled. He then leaves. You can see Alexei's holding this very small dagger in a wooden sheath and is looking at it as if it's the greatest thing he's ever been given. He sees you looking at him, looks up at you, and immediately hands it to you. He gave it to me, but you're my master, if it is yours.
No, please, Alexei. I was not able to give enough money before for you to purchase a decent weapon. Please keep this. I have enough.
His face lights up and he withdraws to his bed, basically, and starts looking over this moon blade dagger that he now has. He's absolutely enthralled with it. Zil looks at you.
Well, I suppose in the morning, our best bet would be to head to the local temple. Unfortunately, it's not a temple of life here in Pythios. It is a temple of logic. They are not too fond of our kind, as they sometimes feel that we fly in the face of logic when we choose the path that we have chosen to take. Perhaps they might be able to facilitate our transportations. I have, in total, only brought with me 150 gold. I don't think that will be enough to book passage for all of us, and certainly not Kinvar. That does change things. I suppose from here we might book passage on a boat. It will be a long voyage around Utherios, that is to be sure. Unless we take an overland journey to the other side and then take boat from there, that would certainly be faster, perhaps. I leave it in your hands. All that I have seen from you is that you have been fulfilling the prophecy line by line, and that is enough for me to know that whatever choice you make, it will be the right one.
Well then, let us rest well this night. I think we have earned it, and we will discuss our plans further in the morning.
So be it. And that is where we will end tonight's session. Not knowing where the Chosen One is taking us. Who knows where it's going? I don't know. We shall see. But they are in the farmer Inn. Yep, in the farmer inn with the enthusiastic barkeep. Brian, thank you so much for playing. What did you enjoy about tonight? Did you enjoy anything?
Oh wow, there's so much that I enjoyed tonight. the extra half hour made a big difference, because even though we started out with combat tonight, which normally we barely get to in about an hour, but there was enough twists and turns in the story, and luckily Raj was able. Luckily, I've designed enough into the character itself to deal with twists and turns like that. So, so yeah, there was a lot of cool stuff, and still a lot more to go. I mean, we still have a lot of big choices to make.
Absolutely. I really enjoyed use of the unseen servant. I know the unseen servant can't attack, right. And it's only got, I think it's got 1 hit point or something.
Yeah.
But I thought it was just enough. You know, it was supposed to be a get in, get this guy out, and be done with it. And then suddenly this weird stuff starts happening, and I thought, well, that's it. That's what's going to happen. It is what it is. So there we go. No, that was a lot of fun. And what did you guys think? Let me know in the chat. I see some people are asking questions. We are milestone leveling, which does raise the next point. You get to go up a level. You do get to go up a level. Absolutely. We've. What do you think you're going to take? Another bard or another sorcerer?
I'm going to have to put some thought into that. See which one will be more beneficial in the current story level.
Yeah. Do you think you're going to, because you're in the town where you needed to get the Alexandrite gemstone for your father? Do you think Raj is going to follow through on that?
Yes, actually, what I had in mind is first thing is we need to make some money before we can go further on our trip.
Okay. Is Raj out of cash?
He's still got 200 gold pieces, but that's not going to last very long. We need to figure out to where we're going to bring in some more cash. Definitely.
Okay. All right. Well, Brian, thank you so much. Thank you so much for playing. I'm going to be with you guys talking about what I had planned for today's session, and whether or not that actually happened. Well, you'll find out in a few minutes. I'm going to go and grab a fresh cup of coffee, and then I will rejoin with you to do that. If you don't want to stay around for that, thank you so much for watching. We will be back again next week as we continue on our one-on-one playing session. So yes, we'll see you either in a couple of minutes or next week. Until then, however, goodbye. Okay, so I'm a little bit ahead of the counter. I know. We'll wait for everybody before we jump into it. It's not going to be a long one tonight. The hour and a half long session, I think, is a lot better, personally, as a GM. We kind of get the flow going a little bit better. We can really drive things forward, which I do like. So there we are. Absolutely. I see someone was falling asleep. They were falling asleep. Well, that's great. That is absolutely great. They found a useful channel for falling asleep to. There you go. Right. Is there a dragon breathing fire on that mountain? Oh, yes, there is. There is, Maladal. Yes, the background video sequence. There is a dragon, definitely falling asleep on that mountain. Definitely breathing fire on that mountain, way in the distance. You've got a good eye there. Absolutely. Let's see. When Alexei started praying... oh God, Captain Priceless. Yes, I saw your comment there. Yes, I know that the gods are not there. It's circles. And the circles have influence. And yes, they are genderless and emotionless, and they are just forces. But people find it very difficult to pray to forces. We anthropomorphize, we humanize, we give these things personalities whether we want to or not. So his prayer, his divine evocation of the power of the forces, basically, was almost like, if you think about it, the Jedi's mantra, or the Sith's mantra, for example. It's a repeated phrase and statement that is focusing and harnessing the power of that divine energy. So call it praying, call it mantra repetition, call it focusing. Yes, English is not necessarily, well, English, the word I chose is not necessarily the right word. But yes, you are correct. I mean, it is about building a space where there is a sense that this is the gods aren't there. And so, yes, it is something that, I mean, it's right to raise. I just wish that someone hadn't noticed necessarily. But there you go. I mean, that's part of world building and believing and making sure that we do that right. GM Brightside said that he uses my voice to put his kids to sleep with. Not sure how. No, it's absolutely fine. At least I am of some use to children, considering that I'm not a particular fan of them. So if I put them to sleep, that's brilliant. I need to use that superpower on all of the rest of them that are out there. Can Alexei be a cousin to Blackston, and thus on a tangent be that makes Blackston canon? They're from different worlds. Blackston is from Braxia. This is the world of Gaia. So unfortunately, I don't see how that would work. Let's see. Okay. I'm just looking if there are any other questions. No. Okay. So what I did today was as a human, I've been trying to learn how to use the computer more and make notes on the computer and to try and go digital. And I have been trying now for quite some time to do that. And I failed at it. I find typing on the keyboard very distracting and invasive. And you've got to mute your mic before you start typing, because otherwise there's an awful sound. So I have switched back to good old-fashioned writing down notes in a book. I wrote out the prophecy so that I have that on hand. I don't have to open up a file from somewhere. I've written out the main NPCs and Raj and their motivations and kind of what's growing. So under Alexei, there's a new note. He has a Moonblade dagger, so he can now use that in combat. I wrote down. Yeah, that's what I need to make a note of, actually, is that these guys have now returned with bounty to Tadesu gave Raj a rosette which will grant him passage to Tatsu. Okay, so I'm very much a case of I draw blocks. I'm a very visual kind of person. So obviously this links up to this point up here, and yeah, I think that sort of thing. The next adventure, this is what I've got planned coming up, it's my 5 steps that I use, boom, 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 but it is the next in the actual campaign logger series that we needed to do. So it's basically adventure number 2, official adventure number 2. So all of the stuff that was happening at Nexi, plus the tower and the battle sequence that was going on there, all of that was a side adventure. That was a side quest. It had nothing to do with the main one, except for getting us to Zill. He's now got Zill, of course, with him, and they can now journey on, and life will be great and wonderful. Already the questions have been posed. Now, one of the things that's very, very important is that whenever there is a question on what to do, it gets thrown back to Raj. And the NPCs will all contribute to that decision. And it might sometimes be against one another, and it might sometimes be together with one another. And I think that is something that is important to do when you're running a one-on-one game, is that if the player just goes, well, I asked the NPC what to do, and if the NPC gives them an actual viable answer, the other NPC should say, oh, I think that's wrong, I think we should go this way. Because the game is all about choice, but the game is also all about the hero, our single character. And the rule in television and in script writing and in storytelling is that the hero is the one who makes the decisions, not the extras, not the side people. So by throwing that back to Raj, it's like, well, what should we do next? Well, we could fly, we could take a boat, we could go across the land. I don't know what to do. You choose, Raj. It's a very specific answer. I know of all the routes that Raj can take, and there's more still. He could go on foot. But it's entirely up to him to choose which one to do. That's the important thing. Selisk asks, what does the Moonblade dagger do? I have no idea. I have just made up the Moonblades on the fly because I wanted them to be katana, like the ones that the samurai use. That's what the elves are based on in my campaign world. I wanted it to be this cool katana thing, and the blue glow was like a moon glow. So yeah, that's what I was hoping. So that's where that came from. What will its power be? I think I'll keep it in limbo. Most likely it's just going to be a +1 weapon. It won't be anything spectacular. It can't be unbalancing, because otherwise Raj will want to take it away from Alexei. And I'm really, 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 really glad that he didn't take it from Alexei. Alexei had to offer it to him because Alexei worships Raj as his master, and by rights should hand over everything that he's been given. And I'm glad that he didn't take his. He wouldn't have been able to use it very much anyway. And he's got all the other bits and bobs that he's picked up so far. So the next adventure is the Circle of Death approaching Raj and asking Raj for help. Their princess, their high priestess, I should say, has been abducted and taken away, and they have heard from the Circle of Life that Raj is pretty good at solving these kind of unusual things. They also want it done on the quiet because they don't want to cause panic. That's the usual reason, by the way, that you can get your PCs involved in something that normally the authorities would be used in, especially in modern day games. It's like, well, why don't you just go to the cops? No, we want it to be quiet. Watch any detective movie ever, and it's always about not involving the cops because they want it to be quiet. So that's what this is going to be, is that kind of thing. There's a bit of a journey that I plotted out. I'm not going to go too much into it because I don't think we're going to get there yet. Raj has now thwarted this attempted robbery breakout thing, which I think is that was on the fly. I mean, the idea of this prison wagon thundering past, it was a test, and I think Brian is now cottoned on to my type of gaming, so I will have to adjust accordingly. But he was right in not trying to stop that prison wagon, and by going up on his own, because if he had tried to stop it, they would have assumed that they were doing a breakout, and all hell would have broken loose. And what a different game that would have turned out to be. The wagon would have, they would have had to try to convince the guards, and I thought that's just a bit messy. So they were in the right direction. They were going in the right direction. So I didn't really need it to stop. The fact that he then followed because of the Bardesian. Now, the Brendesian horse, the talking horse, in all of my games where Bardesians happen, why do I say Brendesian? Bardesians, these talking horses, the special race of talking horses, they are always amorous, because if you've ever been around horses, and I grew up on a well, not on a stud, but I grew up with horses, they are incredibly amorous creatures. And so it was just a passing comment that I made just to give Kinvar some dialogue, and then he followed up on that. I'm like, okay, let's go get your horse laid. Sure, why not? This is D&D. Anything can happen. And the way that he handled it, I thought was absolutely wonderful. And it was a great opportunity. The fact that he was getting close to that wagon, I believe that once you've set something going, like that prison wagon, the prisoner should be trying to do something, trying to get in there and or trying to get out, I should say. The way he did it, I thought, was absolutely brilliant. When he started to back away, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, that's cool. So he's trying to not engage in this combat. And why not? Why not? We don't have to have combat every time. The player doesn't have to get involved in everything. And then that unseen servant. Now, by rights, that unseen servant can't really interfere too much with anything. Otherwise, it just gets dismissed. It's not designed to be a combat device. But the way he was using it wasn't as combat as far as I was concerned. It was interference. And I thought that was brilliant. So, yeah, it was... I think it becomes. I think it was an intelligent use. The fact that he stopped the jailbreak from happening, he had to lead to bigger things, right? There's always got to be something. I triggered that event. He bought into that event. So Sir Rothman the Black, him stealing something. I was like, well, why the hell would they kill Sir Rothman? I didn't have any of that in my head. I was like, arr. But I do know, because of the campaign that we've plotted out, that there is a madman who's trying to collect all of the relics of the circles to combine together. And so I thought, well, let's start seeding that. So he stole the relic, the Stone of Life, from the Temple of Life in Gipthos, which is one of the capitals. Originally, I had planned that they were going to accuse Raj of having stolen that stone in the very first adventure. But I didn't do it because I felt it was going to get in the way of that adventure as it was unfolding. So I almost had that as not a get out of jail free card, but I had that as a plot in hand. I could use that as I so wanted to. So that is what I did, was then said, okay, well, Sir Rothman stole this thing and gave it to somebody else. The next adventure, a plot coupon, the grumpy game dev. I like that, a plot coupon. The next adventure is him chasing down this high priestess who's been stolen. Spoiler alert, but then that's what the point is of this entire talk. She is actually delivering the relic of the Temple of Death to the Dark Master. And she's disguised it as her own abduction, so she doesn't basically get accused of doing it. Now, hopefully Raj is going to interrupt that and stop that from happening. But he will see the relic being given to the Dark Master, hopefully. Or he will stop the relic from being given to the Dark Master. The Dark Master will escape. There's no doubt about that. That's plot armored all the way up the yin-yang, but I've structured it in such a way that things will happen, right? Now, that plus the fact that he has now learned that Rothman the Black has taken the Stone of Life, that should start him on the pathway to examining the circles and these relics and these artifacts. so that when he finally gets to Delphi and reads the entire prophecy, he will start to perhaps think that these are the things that are being combined to then take over the universe. And that will then trigger the entirety of the plot. Because this is the other important thing, and I don't think I talk about it enough in my videos, is that the players need to learn that there is a big plot unfolding and that they're part of it as soon as possible, but not too soon, if that makes sense. And I think by the time he gets to Delphi, there will be 2 major objects having been stolen by the same person or given to the same person. That will be enough for him to sit back and go, oh my goodness, this is the bigger story. Not what I thought it was, which is that I'm at the center of a prophecy. No, there is a much bigger thing going on here. Someone is enacting what the prophecy is talking about. It's not me. I'm actually just stuck in the prophecy. So that, I think, will start to set him on the right track. And from there, we then start to play it out and see where we go. So that is all the planning that was going on. When I was coming up with the idea of Sir Rothman Black, I've got my Patreon sheets up for Generic Tavern, Generic Temple, and Generic Guard Tower. Those go out to Patreons every month, where there are all of the name generator tables and things. I know Grizzles gives me names every now and again, but I didn't have them accessible at the time. So I was using those name generators and things that are in that. And I think it worked out quite well from that sort of perspective. Culkin Deathbringer. I'm not a huge fan of those kinds of names, by the way. Deathbringer, Shield Guard, Armored Idiot, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, there we go. There we go. And to answer your question, Captain Priceless, I won't be joining you again. I still have to go and have supper, and it is quite late already. And I've been talking for quite some time. So there we are. Unless you have... Ben Nicholson's got a question. Do you always have him making money? He can buy that item for his dad. Do you have ways? Oh, do you have ways of him making money so he can buy that item for his dad? Well, I don't. I haven't. That's his plan. He was throwing out that gold as if there was an unlimited supply. That first pirate adventure, he was just chucking out cash. That's all on him. That's his problem. So if he tells me next week, okay, he wants to go and play in the Farmer's Inn as a bard and raise coin, okay, well, 3d12 copper every night until he starts getting noticed. Maybe he's going to succeed on that. He can figure out ways of making money. Brian's way too smart to get stuck on that. I did ask him at the end of the session, is he going to go after that gemstone? And I think he went, oh yeah, maybe, you're going to have to think about it. I think he might buy it so that he has it, but I don't think he'll actually go after it. I don't think he's going to then go, okay, well, I'm off. I'm going back home. If he does, then that's it. That's the campaign over, and we'll start another one. Because that's what it is. But again, that's what makes it exciting, I think, and interesting. Yeah, he has been throwing out gold to everyone except for Alexei. Poor old Alexei. It's like, and he's so. I've been trying, and maybe he just doesn't like Alexei. Maybe he doesn't like youngsters. So, he certainly seemed to want to let Lexi destroy that undead thing. So maybe he does like him. I don't know. Maybe he's wanting to protect his gold. Not sure. Folks, I hope you all have a wonderful evening, afternoon, or midday, or wherever it is that you happen to be in the world whilst watching today's show. I've enjoyed your company, seeing the chats go past. And tomorrow is on twitch.tv/Mercs of Mischief. It's the 11th episode, the penultimate episode, as a matter of fact, of the game that I play in. I play the lawyer barrister. That's Insanity, that game, run by Michael Kessevan. And otherwise, we will see you for live sessions with a GM on Sundays at 7 p.m. GMT. So that's where you can ask RPG questions, and we share and we talk. And I'll be reviewing submissions for the Great Library Adventure project. That is very, very exciting. And that is definitely moving forward. Can you send the link? Yes. Okay, so here we go. So let's just do that. that. It is twitch.tv/Mercs of Mischief. That's tomorrow, and then it's on this YouTube channel or the Twitch channel on Sunday, and that is live sessions with a GM, and I'll put it here, and that is 7 p.m. GMT Sunday. And if you haven't yet joined our Discord, you can join our Discord where all of this stuff is announced, and that's discord.gg/greatgm. I wish that there would be a second season of Saltmarsh, as a matter of fact, Wolf Darkstar. Avernus definitely was the second season. I think, though, if you look at it, they're releasing a new world setting, every 3 or 4 months? I'm still waiting for my hard copy of the last one to come out. Because that's ancient Greek, which would have been perfect for this game if there was anything in there that was useful. I didn't get the PDF. I ordered the hard copy of that book. So, yeah. But all kinds of things are happening at Wizards of the Coast recently. So, who knows? Anyway, that's it. I'm going to say goodnight. I'm going to go find food. You guys find happiness, joy, peace, and take care of yourselves in these dark times. And you are quite right. Damn it. I wish I hadn't done that. Let me just do this quickly so that I don't bugger it up again. Where am I going? I am going there, and I am going to go here and change this very, very quickly so that I don't get shouted at again. And so I say to all of you now, thanks, farewell, goodbye, good night.